Welcome again to another segment of ACRP TV with our spotlight today on something very important, promoting diversity in the clinical research workforce. My special guest is Jim Kremidas, who's the executive director here at ACRP. And we're going to talk about, we've talked in the past, ACRP has been active in this, FDA and others, in trying to increase diversity in the patient population in the clinical trial world, which is still very important. But Jim, here you're talking about, ACRP is talking about the workforce. So it's a slightly different issue, some of the same goals though. But talk about what ACRP is doing in terms of trying to increase diversity in the clinical trial workforce. It's a big task.
Sure, thanks, Michael. Actually, those two items are, I believe, are intrinsically linked though. One of the things we know is that if you look at the population of African Americans in the US, it makes up a little over 13%. But when you look at clinical trials, it's around 5%. So that's quite a disparity of the people who participate as volunteers. And with the Hispanic population, it's 18% of the US population, but less than 1% of the clinical trial population. Yeah. So what we think we can help do about that is by increasing the diversity of the clinical research workforce. And I'm talking about study coordinators initially, PIs, of course, and site monitors, but particularly the site personnel. If we have more folks who are of the same ethnic background and culture as the people we're trying to bring in to volunteer to participate in trials, we feel like that's a very good approach in how we can get a higher density population of these upper represented groups into the clinical trials. So it's really, the thing we're trying to push towards actually solves two problems. One, these are some good jobs that we can offer, that the industry can offer to people. And number two, it'll help us achieve this goal of getting more minorities into clinical research studies.
Well, and to your point, it's a good one. When we've written blogs, I've interviewed people, PIs and African-American doctors and PIs, and studies have shown that one of the main ways people learn about clinical trials is from their practitioners.
Absolutely, yeah. And, we know that there's an issue of trust in clinical research. I mean, everybody uses the term guinea pig, when you start talking about volunteering for a study, and that's unfortunate. But when you get into some of the minority population issues and things that have occurred in the past, I think there's a much higher level of distrust. So when you start talking about what occurred in Tuskegee and what happened with Henrietta Lacks, people are understandably reluctant to trust somebody that they don't really know that well to begin with. So again, if we have people who are from similar cultural backgrounds, I think the communication and the trust levels will improve, which will therefore help bring more folks into the studies.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the concrete actions ACRP is taking in education and remembering and referencing things like Tuskegee. There's a Partners in Workforce Innovation and Advancement. Talk about that.
Yeah, we call it the PWA, Partners in Workforce Advancement. And one of the initiatives we have is to grow the workforce. So bringing high school and college kids who are thinking about what careers they want to pursue, raising awareness that clinical research is a career option for them. And we're doing an advertising campaign in various markets around the US. Most recently, we did one in RTP, the Research Triangle in North Carolina, and that general geographic area. And we also did it in Miami. And in Miami, we deliberately targeted the Hispanic population, and we put in all the ads in Spanish as well as English. So we're trying to understand what messages resonate with this target population so that we can get more of them interested in pursuing information and considering clinical research as a career. We're going to expand on that now. We're going up to the New Hampshire, Boston area. We're going to Minneapolis, and we're also going to go to Houston. So again, we're targeting all populations, but we really want to emphasize wherever possible the minority populations to try to bring them in to study clinical research, either for an associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, but somehow get them engaged and get them work, at investigator sites and or as site monitors or what we call CTAs, clinical trial assistants.
Well, I think one of the exciting things about this is a lot of people out there, I'm not knocking anybody in particular, but there's a lot of words out there. These are some concrete actions that ACRP is talking about. So I think this is really a very positive thing.
We do too, and we think it's actually long overdue as an industry. We should have been doing this a while back, but fortunately, we've got some good partners in the PWA. It's a multi-stakeholder group. We've got some great organizations that are supporting this, and the funding that we generate from those organizations all goes in to support this project. There's a certain, like 80% of it goes just to the media planning or the media expense, I should say. So the more that we can bring in, the more we'll be able to share this across the nation.
That's fantastic. We've been speaking here with Jim Kremidas. He's the executive director at ACRP. This has been ACRP TV Spotlight on promoting diversity in the clinical research workforce, a very timely and very important topic. Jim, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Michael.